Now, I'm not quite sure how this video is going to go. It's probably going to trigger a lot of people. That's not my intention. The main thing I want to have a look at is a reset of the calls that I've been putting out on the channel. The calls for over the last 12 months, going back to June of 2022, because these are some really interesting times in the market. And I think we need to have a reset and understanding of what we can potentially see next. Because, I mean, if you've been following, you know my view here on the channel. It's that we are at the beginning of a very big bull market. That is for Bitcoin. Altcoins will come later. For the stock market, that is pretty much happening right now. It's pretty much almost guaranteed that we'll see new all-time highs sometime 2023 or 2024. So there's been a lot of gains that many have missed out on. Now, I'm not sure whether they want to invest in the markets or not, or whether they're just happy sitting on YouTube or Twitter, typing out comments of whatever that might be. Markets have to collapse. Whatever it may be, I don't care, Eddie. I don't really care to convince you that the markets aren't going to collapse. The main thing I want to do is help those who want to be helped and understand that, well, we're probably not going to see a collapse in 2023, and the best times to be making money to improve our lives are now, have been for the last 12 months of the market. So I want to do a reset of that and give us an idea of what's coming next. Well, because I guess a lot of it goes appreciated, but of course some of the calls go underappreciated. And what I've learned over this time, being years on YouTube now, is that trying to call the market is obviously one of the most difficult jobs there is. Probably, besides being a mother, probably one of the most difficult jobs out there, of course. And a lot of it does go appreciated, but there is obviously the underappreciation for how difficult the work can be. I focus a lot on the cycles. It's been my history over the last 15 plus years. I got into the market in 2006, buying my first property near the peak of the market. Fortunately, I didn't get destroyed on that because Australia just sort of got through that with their real estate cycle. But I also got destroyed in a few years later, buying into a smaller cycle. And that's why my interest is so heavily into cycles and technical analysis. I've been through them, I've made it out, I've been burnt. So that's where we're at in this stage of the market. And we're about to see the next stages of that play out. And then there'll be an extreme collapse. There's going to be some pretty big stuff going up and then a collapse. Okay, so I just want to give it a bit of an intro here, a bit of a reset. Not sure where this is going to trigger, but nonetheless, let's move on. Let's have a look at what is going on in the markets right now, because I think we definitely need to reset the stage here in terms of what's happening next in this market, because things are probably going to get boring. Bears are probably going to continue to call what they think is happening. And of course, there's going to be a ton of confusion between the economy and the actual charts, where the money is being made, okay? So I'm not going to edit any of this. It's just, it is what it is, okay? All right, so the first thing, what I'm going to do is go from the smaller term stuff to the longer term stuff. Today, daily bull market update, SP 500 again. So this has basically been the last several days. And if it wasn't an all-time, a new highest price or a new highest close, it was very close to those prices. So eventually we have to expect a healthy correction. The bull market is basically on. Anyone who doesn't see that is going to be left behind, and that's how we get to those peaks in the market where everyone's sort of scrambling to get into those last places. But remember, the markets can stay irrational longer than we can stay solvent. That's that old saying. S&P 500 new highest close again. S&P 500 new daily high price. Nasdaq new highest close again. Nasdaq new daily high. These are all the facts. This is just what's happened over the last 24 hours since yesterday's video. And Bitcoin closed above 25,300. That was the resistance level. That was that double top that we fell under yesterday. The bears came out in full force. This guy's wrong. Everything is wrong. Yada, yada, yada. I don't think people understand how much work, how much research goes into basically understanding the cycles and then giving a forecast. That isn't an easy task. And to be on the mark is another thing. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back here, but it's a pretty difficult ask. I'm not going to get everything right, but so far things have been working out relatively well. And some things have happened, I would say, faster or more extreme than what I anticipated. And that's the times where you could say, well, wrong. But at the end of the day, I'm a macro investor and trader. So I'm looking a little bit longer term. As long as I get a reasonable entry, that's what I'm looking for there. So I don't know what your situation is, up to you. Bull market is strong, but expect a healthy correction. Oh, and the last one here, the USD is collapsing again. So we're down 11% from the highs. Remember, we talked specifically about this on the channel, that this was going to be a high or a likely high. I don't know for sure if it was going to be the final high, but we knew that there was a very strong chance this was going to be a high. And it actually, in fact, turned out to be the high for the cycle. So we've come right down, collapsing 11% so far, and to the extremes, I think it was somewhere around 12%. We knew this was going to be a low in the market, but not the final low, because of how extreme the news was. You just have to almost counter trade the market or the news and understand the charts as well. All right. The next thing here, BTC, short-term stuff. Bitcoin, I'm looking at this as a hopium narrative. I was up at 2 in the morning. I saw this and just thought I'd post it again. USD I saw was collapsing. Stock market was pumping. And basically, here are all your narratives. We're just waiting now for BTC. The time is another thing that we were looking at. Remember, the moves to the downside, we're looking roughly about 8 weeks out to about 12-ish weeks for a move to the downside. We're coming towards the end of that for BTC, and it's good, strong for the bulls to note that that low is still holding up. So what we just saw is BlackRock close to filing for a Bitcoin ETF. This is from a source. So we'll see what happens. Anything that's from a source, maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't. Nonetheless, this was basically just probably a news piece that was able to pump the BTC market here. So before I get onto that, here's USD collapse. Let's bring out the data here. Well, the lines. There is your top to bottom. There is your 50%. Just last week, Thursday, Friday, and then Monday this week, you could see the market just holding up here, testing that 50%, a close, and then it broke above again. Thought we were going to have another attempt. Couldn't do it and collapse. Okay, so eventually we're going to break these lows. Time is the only thing here. These moves to the upside have been, this has been less. And then if we do get a reversal, you know, we're coming up to some sort of support, maybe we get a smaller pump to the upside, and then eventually we start to roll over. But this eventually is going to be good for BTC. The NASDAQ, just to look at this, look, new fresh highs, new highs close. This is breaking past more and more resistance levels. This is actually going harder and faster than I had anticipated. I thought we would have had some sort of little pullback at the 50%, but that is a very strong signal. When the signal fails, not necessarily that it had to get rejected at 50%, but when you see it slice through 50%, come back and test the upper side of that, look at how beautiful that is. That is a very, very, how many varies I can put here? Multiply it by 10, a very strong signal, and then you get that push away. Huge, 13,600 points, huge push away to 15,300 points. The bears are still hoping for a collapse in the NASDAQ. Tech stocks are overvalued. Yes, the multiples are ridiculous. The top FANG stocks, the multiples are ridiculous. Think about crypto. It doesn't matter about multiples anymore. It's such a stupid metric to use to figure out, oh, is something good value or not, or is not good value. That value investing thing is, I think, is pretty much nonsense. Some people are going to make money from it. I probably think it's nonsense because I don't make money from it. I make money from following the charts and following the cycles. The cycle was up. We knew it. Get into it. The stock market's going up. Remember what we did on the channel, looking at October as a low, and I'll say it, we're looking at June as well. We're looking at June as a potential low, but the time wasn't up yet. We didn't have enough time in the bear market. But looking at the price range, June was a fantastic time to be buying. When you see, you look back now, you go, well, June was an absolutely amazing time to be buying. When you look at the prices there were, you had to endure a pump to the upside, an absolute big dump to the downside, and the price going below it. This is all the market psychology. This is like your trading psychology getting put to the test. But we're looking at lows here, June, October, December, higher low March. That is phenomenal. All right, I couldn't even have predicted that myself, that we were going to go up this hard and fast. I thought we were going to grind away and start to work our way higher, just taking a few of those bears in and eventually flipping people slowly. But this thing has just flipped to the upside, and we will get a significant correction just because there's no flaws on the way up. And if we don't get a significant correction, don't hold it to me. I've just been looking at getting into the lows and then riding this thing up. SP500. Essentially what I'm saying there is, look, if you missed your opportunities with how many times I talked about it here and how many signals there were, not even listening to me, but how many signals there were in the chart, I don't know how, you got to go back and just figure out why you missed all that. That's in a good place. I mean that from a good place. That's how we learn. All right, so S&P 500, same thing here, coming up. Remember, we're looking at these resistance levels at 45 and 4,600 points. Huge volume coming back in. Remember, every day here, I've just been posting this on, is this my tweet here? No, I've been posting this on Twitter, just saying new highest closing price, new high for this market. The next day, didn't do it, but it got a new high price. Next day, new highest close. Next day, nothing. Next day, new highest close, highest close, highest close, highest close, highest close, highest close. You typically don't see these things in bear markets. All right, so I just want to point out this one here. This is basically the reset. This, just to identify what I've been talking about here on the channel, just in case some people are new and they haven't seen all those past videos, it's nice to have these tweets here to give us a date, 22nd of December, 2022, the exact low. I mean, I didn't know it was going to be the exact low for the higher low here. So you can see that. There is your October low. I posted that on the day on my Twitter. I have to go and have a look at that again and try and find that tweet. But we were waiting for a low in October based on the cycle that we follow, the 18.6 year cycle. That's why it's so important. And that's why I've been so bullish on Bitcoin with these lows coming in. This is not just some BS moon boy crap that you see on Twitter with frigging graphs going straight up. Like, those guys are absolute knobs, where they're talking about, oh yeah, Bitcoin's just going to go to the moon like that. I don't subscribe to that BS, but I do follow the charts and I follow the cycles. It's what I've been doing for many, many years now. So on that day, these were unpopular opinions in December. They're probably still slightly unpopular now, and some aren't even relevant anymore because no one cares. This was a big thing back then. Europe will freeze. No one's going to be able to afford their bills. We're going to see a collapse. Okay? Didn't happen, did it? Natural gas plummeted. The winter was actually warmer. Blame it on climate change or whatever you want to blame it on. I don't really care. I'm just here to make money from the markets. But Europe didn't freeze, and that narrative was absolutely put to bed. No one cares about it anymore. No one even talks about it, just like no one talks about the US debt ceiling, which was this period. Look at that. All that fear of US debt ceiling, boom, missed that move to the upside. Something like 10% to the upside. Screw these narratives. They just keep people broke. All right, S&P 500 is bottoming, not crashing. There you go. December, we also talked about it here, of course. Real estate is not going to crash. It hasn't crashed. Yes, some people are going to pick out small little suburbs or towns that they're in across the world and say, well, my area is going down. Yeah, that's probably because, one, maybe it pumped in 2020, 2021, pumped pretty hard. You have to have a correction after a massive pump. Or two, no one wants to buy in your area. Your area is shit. I'm just being completely blunt and honest. I'm saying that because another friend of mine online is like, his area is going down. He's got a YouTube channel as well. Maybe you know who I'm talking about. His area is going down. I said, no one wants to live in your town. It's a boring town in Victoria. No one wants to live there. All right. They wanted to get out of Melbourne at the time when we had the COVID lockdowns, but no one wants to live there now. Okay. So that's the main thing here. If you're just looking at those major cities, maybe on the East Coast of the US, maybe East Coast of Australia, wherever you might be, Canada. Okay. Things are moving up and they have not crashed like people have anticipated. Yes, those 100% moves that some towns did, yes, they have to correct a reasonable 20%. But they're not collapsing like we see at the end of the cycle, and that will happen. There will be a collapse, just not now. Second half of 2022, June, all the way to December here. That and the first half of 2023 are buying opportunities. Well, I've been proved wrong on that being a buying opportunity because I guess if we can go all the way out to the end of May, this buying opportunity now, I don't think is a good idea. I had to give a bit of a broad view here. For Bitcoin, I think it's still a great thing. And maybe Bitcoin is going to be a little bit longer into that third quarter of 2023. Look at the 0.4 here. Good buying opportunities. But yeah, for the S&P 500, I think those good low buying opportunities are over now. Let's wait and see whether we do get a correction. That might be another good attempt. This thing could shoot, I don't know, 6,000 points. Let's throw something out there. So looking back, in hindsight, if we get to 6,000 over the coming years, then you would think, well, this was a great time to buy. You don't know that in the moment. In the moment now, this seems like it's well and truly over the top. You think of all the narratives. The narratives are, stocks are well and their earnings are, the multiples are too high. That's the crap that people are saying. Multiples are too high. It doesn't matter. Just think of altcoins. I think that was the comment that I was saying earlier. Yeah, I know this is a slight rant as well, but I'm trying to give you my ideas as it comes to me with each of these charts. So yeah, when it comes to the think of the altcoins and the earning potential being, the earning multiples being too high, absolutely not. Like, it's just not useful to trade with or invest with. No one cares about the multiples when it comes to altcoins. It's just the hopes and the dreams. If the cycle is up, the cycle is up. People just continue to pay for it because they need to get in. There's money on the sidelines. I know some don't think there's enough money on the sidelines, but there is plenty out there on the sidelines, and they've been waiting to get in. Now we're getting to this point where they're just needing to get into the market. They have to buy in. Their money is getting chewed away, and the interest rate is obviously higher, but they're not keeping pace with the market. And if you're a money manager, you need to be keeping pace with at least the market. Otherwise, you're out of business. Otherwise, people start to pull their money from you and put it with someone else. So these guys are they're not keeping pace with the market. So that's one of the other reasons why this thing is probably pumping. Same sort of deal for the NASDAQ. They're just having to get in. Eventually, we'll need to get this pullback. They'll all be underwater for a little bit, maybe weeks or months, and then we start that climb again. This will start to plateau. This will start to plateau. Maybe it's coming in June, maybe it's coming in July, but we'll start to plateau over the probably, I don't know, 2023, right? But we have to have some sort of correction, whether it's that or whether it's plateauing, yet to be seen. Let's just wait and see. All right, I said Bitcoin is bottoming. I mean, some still don't believe it. They still think there's going to be a lower price than 15K. I stand by that. 15K, I highly doubt is going to be broken. That's the cycle low. That one there, I am very strong with. If we're to break 19,500, which is that next bottom we'll get to, then there is a much higher probability of 15.5 getting broken. But for now, I don't think so. And this is straightforward. Most cryptos are terrible DCA investments. I think most of you guys get that. You've seen it time and 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 time again. That the cryptos from the previous cycle are garbage. They're mostly garbage. And I know it hurts some people. And for whatever reason, I mean, I don't know what level everyone's up to, how long they've been in markets, what they think. Maybe they've only been in trading for a year. Some people have been around for 10 years, might not get it still. I don't know. But yeah, look, you do you. Most cryptos are terrible at DCA investments. It's easier to point that out after we've had significant crashes like we saw on the weekend. There is the tweet itself. I've gone on about that long enough. 22nd December, you get the deal. Speaking of cryptos, that is what you're getting on the altcoin market cap. Maybe we see some lower lows here. At the end of the day, each of the individuals have basically been crushed over time. You're down 80, 90, 95, maybe 98%. The new hopes and dreams will come through in the next cycle, and people are going to forget about all of these shit coins that have once been something big. That's typically the case. We'll cover altcoins. Altcoins are great to be making more money from in the next cycle, but for now, forget about it. BTC, that was the day that I posted this. Bitcoin is bottoming. I mean, I'm making those calls at the lows here at 16.5K. There's the low there. This was a pretty big signal. Sure, I'm not saying that I had the emotions of a robot or anything. I still get emotional, but when I start to see that a huge news event like FTX collapse and the market basically was not able to break and close below that first event, you know, like the news coming out, then you start to think, I think all of the fear has dried up from the market, and it gives us that time to accumulate and pump. I think one of these tweets shows something else. Yeah, this. So people say we always need to retest the lows. What do you call these 5 attempts over the last 7 weeks in November and December? Like, it's a test, another test, another test, another test, another test, and then we move. So we only had about 7 weeks this time. Going back to this BTC chart, there they are right there. There's one. Look at the volume coming in on each of those tests too. Market gets pushed back up, pushed back up. You can call that one there. Here's another one. Here's another one. You can see the volume is quite high compared to what has happened in the past. And so there we go. So I stand by the comment that Bitcoin is bottoming. I talked about it there. I talked about it here. And yes, some people say, well, you were wrong. It went lower. I mean, in hindsight now, that was actually a pretty good time. June 2022 at 17.5K, even up to these levels here in your 18s, 19s, 20K level. I still consider that a very good buying opportunity underneath those levels. We had one final action, one final attempt here with the banking crisis low, and we got under 20K for a moment. Sure, it wasn't the exact low in price. This timing worked out way better in November, but I guess I'm a longer term investor. I can understand I'm not going to buy the exact low. I just want to get a nice, healthy position near the lows, near the bottoms. And we don't know until this next bull market comes about, like how far up Bitcoin will actually go. How far up is this thing going to go? Is it going to go to 70, 80, 90, 100, 150? I don't know. But looking back, this will probably be a pretty good buy zone. So that's the macro there. In terms of the micro, is this my chart here? Yep. So we had a pretty good bounce back. I'll bring up some lines here. This was the zone that I was talking about for weeks now. My thumbnails and titles, so you guys that see it, I mean, there's a lot of people that don't. They just look at thumbnails and titles at that peak. And at that peak, that's all people wanted to see and hear. They just wanted to see and hear Bitcoin is going to 32K, 36K, 40K, 42K, whatever the number was at the time, for whatever reason people were giving. That's what they want to hear. Obviously, I'm much more cautious at those times. I did sneak a little bit in here at 28, but I've also been buying at these lower prices. All the members get that. All of our TIA members get those posts as I purchase my Bitcoin or my ETH for my longer term portfolios. My crypto portfolio, they know, you can see I've sold out basically through here. The majority of my altcoins, I have 97% got rid of them all when this massive crash happened here. I didn't get rid of my Bitcoin and ETH. So that's a learning I can do. And then the rest of mine, I got rid of somewhere around here. That last 3% I was holding in my portfolio. I saw that breakdown and it's like, that's it. Time to ditch it all. Why am I still holding this garbage? I don't care about it. And pretty much all those altcoins are down even further now. So majority of my altcoins, 97% here. Who cares about those last 3%? It barely didn't make any difference. So this is where we're currently at. In this zone here, that's what I thought would potentially happen because we saw a quick flash into it, another quick flash, rejected again, and then we quickly ran above it again. So there really just wasn't any solid foundation through, 24-ish up to about 26, 27K. That's why I've got this box of 24 to 27. You guys that weren't buying up here, well done to you guys. You're better than me. I bought a little bit at 28, but then I bought more at, I think it was 26, and potentially I'll buy a little bit more now. We're at 25 and a half. This thing drops to 22 and you're waiting for that. Good for you. I don't think we're going to get below these levels. I think waiting for this thing below 18-ish, not going to happen. And I don't think we're going to consolidate underneath this low here. If we get any wicks, I mean, if you're going to catch it, go for gold. You get to catch it. Up to you. I don't play that game just trying to wait and hope for a catch like a black swan event like we had here. We don't get black swan events all the time. That's the whole point of them. They're black swan events. And yeah, basically from that point, I'm not going to drag that out any longer. Hopefully that makes it nice and clear. I said this was the bottoming area. We'll look back and be like, that's a pretty good zone to get into. So don't feel bad if you bought at up to 24K. Don't feel bad if you missed this low. I think looking back, this is all going to be all right. And really, when you think about it, as long as you weren't buying altcoins, you've basically been okay. Sure, there are going to be some altcoins which are still up, but they keep falling against Bitcoin value. And the guys who said, well, I'm still up when I talked about altcoins back here in May, well, they're probably not up now or not up anywhere near as much. And then the others who said, well, I'm still up here in April, they've just lost about 60 to 80% of their altcoin profits against BTC. So take that for what you will. But yeah, I'm waiting for that next cycle anyway for those longer term swings. Shorter term swings, different story. You're in there for the hours or the days in terms of your trades. You're going to be making some good profits. I mean, I've talked about on the channel, this isn't about the, referencing what I do and all that sort of stuff at the moment. Anyway, that's BTC. Let's move on. Looking at the longer term cycle here. This is those stages of the market in terms of just breaking it down into 6 monthly periods. First, second, third, fourth. I think we've got to wait till we get to the fourth period to get a nice big pump. That's what we're waiting for. These second and third periods could be nice, good trends like we saw in 2015, 2016, or they could just be sideways, nothing trends, which will have a lot of extreme emotion like I've covered for reasons why on the channel, like we had in, 2019, 2020. We got lots of extreme emotion there. But either way, I think these are still reasonably good reaccumulation times, not as great as down here. I don't think we'll see those lows again. You know, I'm talking about roughly under 18. Some will say, well, you said under 20. Okay, whatever. 18 to 20. I don't think we're going to see underneath those levels. If it were to happen, it's probably going to be extremely quick. And it's going to be so fearful, like we saw in the Black Swan, most won't even get it anyway. They have these big balls like they're going to wait and they're going to just time the bottom perfectly. I guarantee no one was buying that, just like no one was buying these NASDAQ lows, just like no one was buying these lows on the S&P. No one was buying those stocks when they had absolutely gotten crushed in that cycle. That's just how it happens, because if everyone was buying those lows, then we would never get that far down. You know, that's why we're just getting like a grind here. Now, the flip side, sure, let's say I'm completely wrong. The area I'm looking for here is 23,261. That's the 50%. So depending on which chart you're looking at, that number is going to be slightly different there, okay? So yeah, I think a consolidation under that area, you had to wait a long time to hear my bearish analysis. If we're to get a consolidation under this area, that is going to be very weak for BTC, and that could test this low here. So it was nice to see over the last 24 hours that we actually did bounce back. I mean, it's above 25.3. I really want to see, where's my short term? I really want to see 26.5 for now, because that's the swing top. That's the current swing top. All right, maybe we get a new swing top form here and we break it. Then I will readjust that price. But essentially the current swing top is that one right there, 26,435. So for an easy number, call it $26,500. That is the target, and that would put us back into a nice, healthier consolidation zone for BTC to avoid any further collapses to the downside. So the downside I've called is 23.9, but looking at the 50%, somewhere around that mid 23 level, 23.2, 23.3, so $23,300 is where that 50% level comes out, depending on which exchange chart you are looking at. All right, I think I'm nearly the end of this. One more chart here. This one is the longer term thing. So basically taking it all back one step, this is the longer term chart, 2-year bear to bull market. So we've had the bear and we're transitioning into a bull. The bull, if it breaks down, that is going to be a lot longer of a grind. So breaking down from those levels I just mentioned, that there doesn't mean we have to break this, but it's just going to be a longer grind. Underneath this level, 23.2, 23.3 is weak. That is weak, very weak. So that could be a longer grind until we start to move to the higher prices. Nonetheless, this takes about 2 years. 730 days, 2 years. 104 weeks is 2 years. 52 weeks in a year times 2, 104. Look at that. There's your approximate 2-year period. Ups and downs and sideways. Here is your consolidation, your breakout, reaccumulation, breakout, reaccumulation, and then off to the races. This also lines up with that fourth stage here. So these, what I'm calling phases, stages, whatever you want to call it. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. So that's just breaking the 3 years into 6-month blocks. First 3 6-monthly blocks is the hope and the fading hope, and then the grind. The grind, the hope, and the fading hope, and then another hope. All right, so we did get the grind early on in this one. I think that's probably what's happening here. Once we break past that 48 to 52K, that's when we start to get that really big move to the upside. And some bears are waiting to become bulls at 48. Depends how you want to play the market. I like to try and get in as low as I can with my analysis, with facts that I'm seeing from the charts and my own analysis over the course of many, many years, my own experience. But if you need to wait for 48 to 52 to feel comfortable in getting into the market, then you do you. Just like here in the fourth innings, we'll say if you had to wait until the market got above 14K before you were happy getting in, that's up to you. It's your own plan. So yeah, 2 years here, 2 years here. I think we still have a fair bit of time in this grind, maybe all the way up to 48, maybe all the way down to the current low that we're at, maybe down to 22K. So yeah, this is the lowish area, 15.5. I hope that cleared up the air in terms of my views on the market. We still have another push to the upside. Everything will collapse, but it's not time. 2022 was the lows. 2023, good time to buy the first half of the year, depending on which market you're looking at. Cryptos, they're not good DCA investments. I've got to wait for the next cycle and see what is going to be strong for the breakout. In terms of trading, different story. Trade them to your heart's content. Trade whatever there's high volume, whatever there is high volatility. That is going to be the best strategy there. Real estate, I think, yeah, it's showing up to be a pretty good time before we get that next move out, and there is plenty going on to bring more money into the markets. I understand there's plenty of those fundamentals out there that say it just can't happen. Liquidity's drying up. Cash is coming out of the system. People can't afford yada yada yada. I get it. If you're here 30 minutes into this video, you probably understand why that's the case. Why real estate can still go up. What else have I covered? Yep, that's it. That's basically it. Bitcoin, S&P, Nasdaq, looking good. USD falling back down, and yeah, around the world, like I've covered many times. I mean, look, even Germany's at new all-time highs and trading around those highs, yet it's in a recession. I dare say that could potentially happen to the UK market as well. They've been talking a lot about recession lately, and look, that's where they currently sit. There's the UK. It's pushing to fresh highs, putting in higher lows. Let's wait and see what happens over the coming months. All right, guys, that's a wrap. Like and subscribe if you want to see more like that. Let me know in the comments section. I will hopefully not make them go 30 minutes, and I can reference back to this one so that you can see the structure that I've been using over the last 12 months of calls in all sorts of markets. Most people will cover Bitcoin only. Most may only cover Bitcoin and crypto. Very few will cover cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and stocks and get it relatively on track. And there is probably a handful of people who cover the real estate cycle, understanding real estate, stocks, stock market cycles, global stock market cycles, and Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So I'm not saying I'm the greatest there is, but I'm saying that there is a lot of work that goes into all of this. And if I get something wrong, I get something wrong. Otherwise, so far, things look pretty good. The main thing that I think I got wrong was basically just not selling my Bitcoin and my ETH after this top came in. So I'll get wiser on the next run to the upside. But I'm glad I got out of all my cryptocurrencies because I knew that from the previous cycle. Bam, that's going down. Doesn't matter what narratives come out. Yeah, let's continue to wait. Cheers again, guys. See you at the next one. Have a fantastic weekend if I don't see you then. Until next time, take care and peace out.